reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for being here. Pushing the Limits out live, of course, the YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. Welcome, PTL Nation. We got a lot to get to and a lot to talk about today. Obviously, some crazy stuff. Donald Trump apparently wants to go on patrol in D.C. tonight, and he says he's going to end the war in 2 weeks again. We got a lot of stuff to get to, but I want to, before I introduce my guest, get right into this to start. So Joe Scarborough, just like many on the right, even though Joe Scarborough seems to be anti-Trump, but then he says things like this, he's now criticizing Gavin Newsom for these tweets that clearly are poking fun at Donald Trump. And it's almost like some of these people forgot why he's actually doing this in Gavin Newsom. I want you to listen to what Joe Scarborough had to say about these Gavin Newsom tweets mocking Donald Trump.
The Democrats are trying to find their footing, and it's quite embarrassing, actually. I mean, Gavin Newsom, have you seen what he's doing online? And say, just take a deep breath. Yeah. Don't try to turn the ship 180 degrees and they don't know what to do. I have a good idea. Instead of trying to school Donald Trump, talk into the camera about affordability. Yeah,
that's really worked. I completely disagree with that. But to talk to us about this, somebody who knows Gavin Newsom pretty well, and he was on vacation last week, so it's good to have him back on the show. Of course, I'm talking about Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch. Ron, it is great to see you, my friend. How are you?
Doing good. I'm rested. I survived a whitewater rafting trip where I ended up in the river a few times due to my lack of skill. But, I got a little fat lip from a rock, but other than that, I'm okay.
Well, I'm glad you're okay, Ron, and you certainly deserve a vacation. I am actually taking one myself next week. So I just played you the audio, and you wrote a great article on your Substack about this, on why you think Joe Scarborough is wrong. Now, we would, assume that this happens from the right. We expect that from the right to criticize Gavin Newsom. But right. Joe Scarborough, what did you make of this, Ron?
Nobody clips that show, Morning Joe, because nothing ever is useful that happens on that show. There's never any news broken or anything. I mean, he gets some good guests, don't get me wrong, but most of the show is listening to him and Mika, interrupt the guests and ramble and tell the same dumbass stories over and over for 20 years, So none of the people who do clips on social media even bother watching it. So how did I see it? I saw it from Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is the one who posted the clip, and said look, even Gavin Newsom thinks, even Joe Scarborough thinks Gavin Newsom is being a clown. And I'm like, oh, well, if Charlie Kirk is posting you're not doing things well. Mr. Scarborough. So, I listened to it. And it's just, he's so out of touch with the party, the base, what's happening in the world. He's in this little bubble where, they live in Florida and in DC and New York, and they're in the Hamptons. And, I don't know when was the last time he's actually been out into the country, the real country. And I know he always tells these stories of his family from Alabama and stuff, but that's 12 people, get out into the country and talk to people. And I know he's very anti-social media and all that. He's, he says it's not the real world. Well, guess what? It wasn't maybe in 1996 when most of his political relevance occurred, but it is today, because tens of millions of Americans are on social media in one form or another. Not necessarily political, but one form or another. So this trolling operation by Newsom has been brilliant. And first of all, when he says he needs to talk about the issues, Newsom has his own personal page that is not doing this stuff.
Yeah.
His personal page is all about issues, all about policy, all about the stuff that Scarborough complains that he should be talking about. He does. I'm on his email list. I get policy stuff from him every single day. And he does interviews about policy every day. So this is a separate account. This is a team of 4 or 5 people that he's hired that are running this account just specifically to troll Trump by holding up a mirror to what Trump posts every day and making fun of it and mocking it. So it's not actually Newsom himself, although supposedly he approves everything that goes out. So,
and the right is losing their mind, right, Ron? And I got to be honest with you, even in some of his speeches in the last few weeks, I like this Gavin Newsom. And you and I were both frustrated, as many others were, at the podcast he did with Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. I did not like that Gavin Newsom. I like this Gavin Newsom. I think he's approaching it the right way. And by the way, other Democrats should take a page from this playbook, because not only are people on the left loving it, but it shows you who the real snowflakes are here. These people on the right, they can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, what are we going to wait for another statement from Schumer tomorrow about something that happened 3 days ago? Or, Jeffries, who speaks in slogans, and like, it's like, and, look, we have all these governors that are out there that are going to run for president. Whitmer, Shapiro, Westmore, probably, there's a whole bunch of them. And Pritzker, and there aren't really any of them out there doing that much. I mean, they're running their states, they're focused on their states, and that's fine. But we desperately need a national leader. Kamala Harris is checked out. Obama's checked out. He's working on his library. I mean, there isn't anybody there. There's a leadership vacuum. And so this guy steps up to the plate, takes on Trump head on, personal insults, everything else, going right at him, driving Fox crazy. Fox programming for 48 hours, 72 hours has been nothing but crying about Newsom. Same thing with the right wingers. So, and Trump was up at 12:07 in the morning this morning posting about Newsom. So obviously this is getting under his skin. So yeah, I mean, this is to criticize this is just asinine. It's like, of all the things that you can criticize about Democrats, you're going to criticize the first thing that's been effective in like a year.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So Ron, Donald Trump is doing an interview earlier today, and he's bragging about the possibility today of going on patrol in DC, which I find utterly idiotic. What do you make of this?
Yeah, this is wild. I mean, I don't know when he came up with this idea. He goes on Todd Starnes' radio show, which is a relatively small audience, and it's radio, not podcast or TV. There's no video. And he makes this like announcement that he's going out with the National Guard tonight. And which is like, like really big news. The president of the United States is going to go out with the National Guard and patrol the streets of DC, supposedly. I posted the clip, and I had one of my followers responded like the last time somebody threw a rock at the White House, this bitch ran down to the basement. That's what the guy said. So now he's supposed to. So this is going to be like very heavily. I mean, there's going to be like 1 million people. This is going to cost a fortune. It's going to be a big production. What I'm wondering is like, is he going to do like Noam did and actually like they're going to bring him into the scene where somebody's being arrested? Because that's what I think. I don't know, but my speculation is like, they have somebody specific who's probably a really bad dude with arrest warrants and everything else that they have in mind. And they're going to go grab that person because they kind of know where he is. And Trump's going to like roll in there and act like the big badass. And,
so he's Kristi Noem. He's going to be like,
what's he going to wear? That's the other question. Is he going to wear like some camo or, National Guard? Is he going to wear a badge and a helmet? It's just this administration is just, from the workout videos and the paintings on the walls, it's just one nonstop reality show for these people.
You're right. It is. And to make matters even worse, in that interview that we are talking about from earlier today, he now wants another 2 weeks when asking about, the Russia-Ukraine war and the possibility of, even a ceasefire, let alone ending the war, and whether Vladimir Putin will even meet with Zelensky. And now it appears from the Kremlin's point of view, it's probably not going to happen. And now Trump is asking for another 2 weeks, as he always does.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I follow very closely and write about every day. And I follow a lot of Ukrainian media, Russian media, German media, Polish media, lots of European media. So I keep pretty close tabs on this stuff because you're not really going to get much accurate reporting, good reporting on this stuff from U.S. media. Some like Wall Street Journal, because their foreign policy editor is Russian. He came to the United States from Russia many years ago. So he gets it, and their reporting on it is good. So here's what's going on. Trump made all these significant progress. The meeting in Alaska was a disaster.
Yep.
The European leaders all flew to DC because they were in a panic. Merloni leaves her vacation in the middle of it because the summit in Alaska went so bad. Caroline Leavitt spins it as the reason why they rushed to DC was because Trump made so much progress towards peace with Putin in Alaska that they wanted to jump all over it. That's the opposite of true. The true is Alaska was such a disaster that they freaked out and flew to DC. So then Trump comes out of those meetings and after claiming he talked to Putin by claiming, significant progress is made and all that. Then last night, Sergei Lavrov, who is the foreign minister for Russia, goes out and says, no, there's he says he has the exact same demands as they've had for the last 3 years. Zelensky has to submit to an election or they won't meet with Zelensky because they don't consider him a legitimate president, right? So that's number one. They won't even meet with him. They want territorial concessions. They want China to be part of, have a veto power over any U.S. European security arrangements with Ukraine. They want the Chinese and Russia to have veto power over whatever that is. So in other words, if we want to install a missile defense system or Germany wants to put troops into Ukraine, they can veto it under the agreement. I mean, that's ridiculous. So these are all the same things that they've been demanding for 3 years. So Lavrov comes out and says that. So Trump knows he literally knows this is going absolutely nowhere. It's not going to happen. And it's certainly not going to happen anytime soon. So he goes on this radio show and he's asked, and he gives his standard response whenever he knows something is not going to happen anytime soon. He says, we'll know in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this too, because Caroline Leavitt and others in Trump's administration have been bragging about the fact that all these NATO leaders got on a plane and Trump is the only person that could get them to do this. But yet my thoughts are, the reason why they were there is not because of the respect they have for Donald Trump, because they're backing Zelensky and they wanted to be there to make sure that Putin's demands, whatever they are fair. And I feel like they were all there to back Zelensky so he didn't get bullied. And the Trump administration is making it out to be Trump is the only guy that could get all these world leaders in a room within 48 hours. What's your take on that? Do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's so obvious. The frustrating thing about what's happening with the European leaders and Trump is that they have to play this game with him where they have to pretend to respect him. They have to pretend that he is in charge and he knows what he's doing. Because if they don't do that, they know he'll walk away. The U.S. will walk away from Europe, from NATO, from Ukraine, and will just wash their hands of it. And that's what they're trying to avoid. So they know that the price that they have to pay to keep Donald Trump in the fold is to kiss his ass. They have to praise him. They have to say how wonderful he is, how great he's doing, how much good work he's doing. And so the frustrating part for Americans who understand that he's a fool is that we do have all of these respected leaders from Europe with good reputations who know what they're doing, who are getting used. They're getting used by the Trump administration for domestic propaganda because they're forced to come here and say those things, even to Trump, even though they don't believe them.
Right.
And Zelensky is too, because if Zelensky told the truth or ever said what he really thinks about Trump and Trump's policies, that would be it. They'd be finished with getting anything from the United States. So they can't tell the truth. So what happens is they're forced to come here and say all this BS. The people in their countries know that they don't really mean it, but the Trump administration and Leavitt then takes those quotes and clips and they use them domestically to tell the American people, look how much these leaders love and respect Trump. So it's all just BS. It's all theater, but it's the game that they've figured out that they have to play.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Did I hear it right on this radio show this morning that Trump said he got us out of 10 world conflicts or wars? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, these things are ridiculous when they start listing them. So he was asked about that. He brought it up because he's been first. He claimed like six was like a few days ago, and then yesterday he came out and said he ended 7 wars. You can just go through them. The one in the Congo he claimed. Another one was like Armenia and Azerbaijan. And another one was India, Pakistan. When, if you remember, the Indian foreign minister was so outraged that he actually came out and gave an interview and issued a statement saying Donald Trump and the Trump administration had absolutely nothing to do with our negotiations with Pakistan. They were not involved. And I think that that's the reason why Trump ended up slapping tariffs on them over them buying Russian oil, was specifically because of that they repudiated. See, this is the lesson this is the message that he sends to people is, if you don't agree that I get all the credit, we're gonna hit you with a penalty, and the penalty on India is a 50% tariff on everything from their country. And the excuse he gives is, we're doing this because they're buying Russian oil. Well, so is Brazil. Well, so is China. We didn't do anything to them, Right. So yeah, so he goes on this radio show and Starnes asks him about this ending 7 wars, and he says, well, actually, somebody pointed out to me that it's probably more like 10. He goes, because there was 3 wars that ended that we ended that I didn't even know about. So the man is like taking credit for ending wars that he didn't even know were happening, supposedly.
Unbelievable. But I guess you could say, Ron, not surprising. What do you got going on your Substack today that people could look forward to reading? By the way, your write-up on Scarborough was awesome. What do you got going on today?
Yeah, obviously, I had to cover that, but a lot of the stuff about California and Texas, the redistricting stuff, I think the vote on so Texas just passed their, by the way, people wondered, I'll give you this little piece of news, like people wondered, why did the Texas legislatures go back, and why didn't they wait until the 30-day special session expired? Because Texas was just going to call another special session, and the deadline for California to be able to respond is tomorrow. In other words, like to get the ballot and the initiative on the ballot for the November election in California under California law, it has to be to the legislature has to pass the resolution and get it to the Secretary of State by tomorrow. So that probably explains why the Texas legislators went back, so Texas could go ahead and do it, because that they had California to respond. They're like waiting to the last minute. So that's vote is supposedly happening this afternoon in California, where they're going to pass that resolution. It's going to go to the Secretary of State, be on the November ballot in California to allow them to redistrict. And then the question is going to be, whether the voters in California are going to agree to it. But these are all the hoops that Democratic states have to jump through because of these independent commissions being set up that Republican states don't have to jump through because they don't have independent redistricting commissions. So they just do what they want in a power grab, and Democrats have to go to the voters and get it approved.
What a mess. What an absolute mess this whole situation is. Thank you, Greg Abbott, by the way. Ron, always a pleasure having you on, my friend. Good to have you back. We'll catch you on the show next week. Keep up the great work. By the way, Adam Mockler did another great job on CNN last night. I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah, I did. Mockler's killing it, man. He's everywhere.
He's awesome. He's awesome. All you guys are killing it. Ron, I appreciate your time, my friend. Have a good weekend. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right. See you.
Take care. Ron Filipkowski, everybody. One of the best in the business. Midas touch. Love having him on. I missed having him on last week. It wasn't the same without Ron. So we appreciate him taking the time to join us. All right. So here is what we are going to do. When we take a break, Leonard Cardinal is going to be joining us in studio as my co-host today. You're not going to believe what one White House official said about slavery. Yes, and I'm not talking about Donald Trump, believe it or not. J.D. Vance, what are his statements on illegal aliens? What did he say now? He didn't say they were eating cats and dogs, but he's starting another controversy. And J.D. Vance is now kissing Putin's ass. We have the audio to prove that for you. We will have that all for you when we come back. Leonard Cardinale joining us in studio. And of course, when we come back, we'll take your calls. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Remy Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. Programming note for you. My very good friend, formerly of Nine Inch Nails, the lead singer of Filter, one of my favorite musicians, and he hates Trump even more than I do. Richard Patrick's going to be joining us on the show. Nicole Mitchell's going to be joining us on the show, and of course, we'll be taking your calls. Also, keep in mind, every Tuesday this month, you bring your TAM card into Jackson's Bar and Grill, and if you get 250 points on a slot machine, you get $50 in free slot play. I was in there the other day, and I got to tell you, man, some of the best food in town. Sometimes people say, oh, bar food. I'm not in the mood for bar food. Not the case at Jackson's Bar and Grill, man. They are great. Great food, great prices, great people. Check them out on Flamingo and Jones and tell them that I sent you. It is Thursday. Usually this fine, good-looking gentleman joins us on Wednesday, but it happens to be Thursday. So Leonard Cardinal here with us, the longtime police officer from North Las Vegas, and the fans at PTL love it, Leonard, when you're here. I do as well. It's good to see you. How are you?
They're so very nice. Thank you all for being so nice in the chat and the people who call in, and happy to be here. There's a lot going on, Brian.
There is a lot going on. There's no question about that. It seems like there's always a lot going on in the news lately. But I wanted to start off by telling you, we know what Donald Trump said about the Smithsonian Museum, and it's not even really a controversy. He's just in my personal opinion, a racist. And Donald Trump, it's almost like many of these MAGA Republicans want to get rid of history, even if in this situation, history when it comes to how black people were treated in this country, which, by the way, is important to know. Yeah, we've come a long way since then, but it's important to know. I want you to listen, Leonard, to a woman by the name of Lindsay Halligan. She's a White House official. Listen to her talk about this controversy.
Classrooms shouldn't be stages upon which teachers can preach their various indoctrination masquerading as eternal truths. And similarly, museums that are over 70% funded by the federal government shouldn't be laboratories for political experiments. And so what we're doing is we just sent a letter to the Smithsonian asking for all information regarding their exhibits and their placards to try to get to the bottom of what happened and where the Smithsonian went wrong, and try to make the Smithsonian amazing and great and live up to what the president wants the Smithsonian and DC to be. It's the capital of our city, and we need to make it amazing and great and beautiful.
Yeah, Lindsay, I mean, obviously, Charlotte and I both lived in D.C. for a number of years. I love the Smithsonian's and visiting them, taking family and friends there. And we often talk about preserving history in museums and not erasing it. But how do you balance that? We need to be able to review this while honoring even our not-so-pleasant past.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about whitewashing. It's all about full context. So while slavery is obviously a horrible aspect of our nation's history, you can't really talk about slavery honestly unless you also talk about hope and progress. And I think we need to be focusing on the progress that we've made since then, and we need to stop focusing so much on the lack of progress. We need to keep moving forward as a country. Our 250th anniversary as a country is coming up next July, and we're hoping that the Smithsonian and DC is beautiful and amazing and a place that all Americans want to come visit during that time. And so I'm really excited about it.
Really, really excited about it. So Leonard, she clearly has never been to this museum before, because if you do a little bit of research, it talks about slavery in the museum, and it shows some history of then. But then the building opens up to a grand hall after the Civil War, and you walk upwards towards progress and a better future. It's not only about slavery, but they want to just get rid of the slavery part of history. What do you make of that?
Well, that's our legacy, and my opinion is history should be documented and preserved in the manner that it occurred. And if we had a bad period where slavery was the way of life and we corrected it, then it should reflect that. And like you said, the Smithsonian not only has slavery, things about slavery and other things that happened, they also had the impeachment of Donald Trump on display with some minor details, which was taken down. But that's real history. That's what really happened. And my friends and my family, with the exception of my MAGA friends, would prefer that history just be presented as it is. That's the American legacy. That's how, good or bad, right, Brian? That's how we got here. Good, bad, ugly. This is how we got to where we are today.
Mm-hmm. Agree with you. And this is not a coincidence, what Donald Trump and his administration, the comments he's made about slavery, what they've done with these monuments, these Confederate monuments. This is not a coincidence. This is who Donald Trump is. These are who people like Pete Hegseth and others are. When it comes to Black history, I'm telling you, they want to get rid of Black History Month.
They're not even hiding it anymore.
No, they're not hiding it. They're not hiding the racism. You saw the Martin Luther King statue in the Oval Office that Donald Trump got rid of. They want to get rid of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They want to get rid of Black History Month. They want to get rid of Gay Pride Month.
They want to start somewhere in the beginning of the 1950s. They're a very regressive agenda, not progressive, not modern. They want to go back to where women were, in the kitchen, taking care of the kids. They were not educated. They not able to drive, not able to vote. There's legislation that if a woman doesn't take her husband's name, she may not be allowed to vote. How ridiculous is that, Brian?
You know what's even more ridiculous? Where are these Black conservatives? Where is Tim Scott? Where is Byron Donalds? Why has Ben Carson not spoken up about this? Where are these Black conservatives? Are they really going to make the excuse that the Trump administration is making? Oh, well, it's too negative. It's too negative.
And
where are they?
He didn't even give them key positions.
Right.
They supported him throughout his whole career. They've lied and they've cheated and they've stolen for him. And when it came time for them to be rewarded, what did he do?
Yeah.
He picked Fox News hosts mostly for high-level positions. And Pam Bondi, who, in my opinion, couldn't tell a law from an unlawful act if someone explained it to her for 20 minutes.
Can you imagine being in Tim Scott's family, Byron Donalds' family?
It's embarrassing.
They're cowards. Now, I haven't heard them say anything on the record, but they've been silent. They've been mum. These are African Americans who are in politics, and they will not speak out against this, as clearly anybody with a human heart that is not a racist should. The museum isn't all about slavery, but it does give history of the abomination which was slavery. And then it moves forward in the museum. You can look it up if you don't believe me. But somehow Donald Trump wants to take it, just like they want to ban these books, and they don't want people talking about slavery in schools, as if our kids should not be learning what slavery is.
Try to find a reference to the Tulsa race massacre of 1921. See if you can find that somewhere. What about the militia, the Black militia that was standing up in, I think, 1878, where the white militia came and wiped them out? Try looking that up in a book in some of these schools in Oklahoma, in Florida. It's not even in the books anymore.
Yeah, no, you're right.
They won't even allow you to learn about the hundreds of people that were massacred because it's part of our history and they don't want you to know it.
Well, let's move on, Leonard, from books to couches. Our favorite friend, J.D.
Are we going to
Vance.
talk about J.D. Vance?
Yeah, let's talk about good one. Yeah, you're right. Good one. You got me there. Yeah, J.D. Vance, Couchman himself. So Couchman did get booed with Stephen Miller. We'll get to that in a moment. But J.D. Vance did an interview on Fox yesterday, and I want you to listen to J.D. Vance when asked about all these undocumented immigrants that are being deported. Listen to the first positive that came to his mind, which is, by the way, a lie. But listen to the first positive that J.D. Vance said in regards to all the quote-unquote illegal aliens, as he calls them, that have been deported.
You've got to stop putting the interests of foreigners who don't have the right to be here over the interests of American citizens. That is the entire point and purpose of the Democratic Party. If you go back to the election of 2024, what was the big issue? The big issue was illegal immigration. They were actually defending the rights of illegal immigrants to come into our country, to vote in our elections, to collect Social Security and Medicaid that ought by right go to American citizens, to say nothing of housing. This is actually the biggest driver of housing costs in some of these big blue cities, is that they've flooded the zone with illegal immigrants. As we've kicked illegal aliens out of our country, you actually see housing costs start to level off. So fundamentally, the difference between Republicans and Democrats is we care about American citizens. They actually don't like American citizens and want to replace them with low-wage foreigners. It's a very stark difference, and I think the American people are going to continue to reward us because of it.
First of all, throughout Donald Trump's career, he's hired undocumented immigrants. Second of all, what the hell is J.D. Vance talking about? Housing costs starting to level off because of undocumented immigrants that are being deported? Is there any evidence at all to back that up?
Who do you think collected all their food? And another thing, it's never been about allowing people from other countries. That is not the argument. The argument is that there are ICE agents wearing masks, throwing people in vans. The issue is that there's no due process rights. What about the 14th Amendment, search and seizure? What about the 4th Amendment, rights against search and seizure, where the government cannot seize you without having probable cause? What about the fact that their family members are being taken? They're making phone calls to the local police departments and sheriffs, and they don't know where the family members are. And the next thing you know, they're deported. There was a grandfather who was here, I think, for 44 years yesterday, taken into custody and already deported. No due the issue is America and due process and civil rights.
Yeah.
And who do they think picked all the strawberries for the last 3 or 4 decades? Who do they think put up all the housing? Who do you think they built the bridges? And what about the railroad? And what about the sewage system? They were doing jobs that Americans are not going to want to do.
You're right. Oh, and it gets worse because, as you know, Vladimir Putin executed one of the large-scale attacks on Ukraine that we've seen all month, just the other day. And while all this is going on, and J.D. Vance knows what's going on, I want you to listen. I'm not even talking about Donald Trump coddling to Vladimir Putin. Now it's J.D. Vance. Listen to J.D. Vance when asked about what it's like being in a room with Vladimir Putin. Listen to what he had to say about this.
Like meeting Putin. What was he like, just one-on-one?
So I've actually never met Putin. The president did that meeting. I've talked to him on the phone a number of times. You know, it's interesting. He's more soft-spoken than you would necessarily expect. You know, the American media has a particular image of him. He's soft-spoken in a certain way. He's very deliberate. He's very careful. And I think fundamentally he's a person who looks out for the interests as he sees it of Russia. And I think one of the reasons he respects the President of the United States is because he knows the President looks out for the interests of the American people. And while they often disagree about issues, and obviously the President has been very critical of Vladimir Putin, the President's also willing to work with anybody if he thinks it's going to accomplish an important goal for America. And we all agree an important goal is to stop the killing.
I cannot believe what I just heard, because now I'm getting angry. I know that'd be a shock to some of you. J.D. Vance just said Vladimir Putin looks out for the interest he sees of Russia. How many innocent people has he murdered in Russia? Journalists who disagree with him. Innocent people in Russia who have spoken out against him and the Kremlin. He's a murderer. And J.D. Vance is trying to normalize him as a soft-spoken guy, and the American media has a particular image of him. Yeah, you know what that image is? He's a murderer. He's an evil, murderous dictator. He's responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people. You frickin' idiot, you imbecile. And J.D. Vance sitting there with that racist witch moron, Laura Ingraham, with a stupid smirk on her face. And J.D. Vance is trying to normalize Vladimir Putin like those idiots on Fox Noise and OAN and Newsmax try to normalize Donald Trump. No, Vladimir Putin is an evil, murderous dictator, and Donald Trump is a wannabe evil dictator. And they normalize him, Leonard. They normalize Vladimir Putin.
He's holding a person in high regard that has stolen, documented 30,000 children. Oh, and by the way, most of them girls. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are against, having reproductive rights. But at the same time, they're stealing children, and they're not going to give them back. I believe the International Court has put out a warrant for crimes against humanity on Vladimir Putin, even though he's soft-spoken. And part of those charges are the children that have been kidnapped and not returned. Yeah. Oh, and they're being assimilated. That's what Russia says. They're assimilating them into Russian society.
Absolutely and positively repulsive. And then we wonder why the red carpet was rolled out for Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. Listen to these idiots in the Trump administration try to normalize Putin. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're more aggressive in their tone and the things they say about Zelensky than Vladimir Putin. They make Zelensky to be the bad guy.
They've definitely chosen a side. Let's just say it like it is. They've chosen a side, and it's Russia and Putin. And for some reasons we may never know. Donald Trump is taking election advice from the president of Russia.
Yeah, it's just, It's just an abomination. Think about all the people that have been murdered because of Vladimir Putin and his evil murderous
Just because he's
regime.
soft-spoken, he can't stab
He's
you in the back.
soft-spoken.
Just because he's soft-spoken, he can't cut your throat while he's talking to you.
it's
I don't get what the point is. Like, what is he trying to say?
He's trying to normalize and give positive attributes to Vladimir Putin the same way that Donald Trump does, coddle him. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance is the guy who attacks Zelensky, in the Oval Office. It's sickening. And then we go to Stephen Miller. So Stephen Miller,
there's something wrong with that.
Well, I call him Adolf Hitler 2.0. I really feel like that's really
he's right out of the 1933 history
really
book.
He
He's
really
following it line by line.
So what did they do yesterday? Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance were in D.C. yesterday, and they were meeting with some of the people in the National Guard. Obviously, the people in the National Guard, they're all heroes. Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
In any normal circumstance, I think that's great. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But we know why they were there, for political reasons, to try to defend sending out the National Guard to D.C., which was completely unnecessary. I want you to listen to what Stephen Miller said about the peaceful demonstrators and protesters that were outside of this room. Because keep in mind, Stephen Miller has never been on the record on calling out the January 6th insurrectionists, those who Donald Trump pardoned, some of whom beat police officers, as you know, with their own batons. But I want you to listen to the way Stephen Miller characterized the peaceful protesters that were using their First Amendment rights that day, and Stephen Miller and the verbiage he used against them. Have a listen to this.
They have no families they're raising in this city. They have no one that they're sending to school in this city. They have no jobs in this city. They have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the Vice President are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. And let's just also address one other thing. All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of this city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, the support of the National Guard, and our federal law enforcement officers. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
All right, so riddle me this. Imagine if a Democrat, maybe an African-American Democrat, let's just throw that in there, could be somebody like Kamala Harris, which, by the way, they would never make a statement like this, but hypothetically speaking, say they were MAGA protesters, white MAGA protesters outside, which, by the way,
they were old.
Was. And a Democrat said, ugly white hippies or stupid white hippies. You would call that racist, right? You would. People on the right would certainly call it racist.
Certainly discriminatory.
Yeah, absolutely. Why is the same thing not pertain to Stephen Miller, Adolf Hitler Jr.? He just called them stupid. By the way, they weren't all over 90 years old. That's also a lie. There might have been some people there that were older, but who cares how old they are? They're expressing their First Amendment rights. And by the way, they didn't beat police officers. It wasn't an insurrection. What if a Democrat had made a statement like that? Isn't that a double standard? They would call that person a racist.
We would never get away with it. And the reason they get away with it is because it's red meat for their base. And that's why we say it's like a cult. It's like they've been brainwashed. How many people do you know, Brian, that you've spoken to on the MAGA side that you could bring them fact after fact after fact, comparison after comparison, and say, hey, Stephen Miller just said this. You know, if we said that, how about Gavin Newsom? Perfect example. All he's doing is taking Trump's tweets and trolling him and imitating him, and they're pissed.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows you where they're at. But it goes back to the brainwashed mindset. You cannot make any sense of these people. Do you think no one was there because they were protesting military occupation? Was nobody there protesting martial law? Was nobody there protesting a government takeover by uniformed military people with rifles and masks? I mean, no one there was protesting that. Is that what he's saying?
That's what it sounds like.
They were all
to
just
me.
down there wasting their time in the afternoon because they had nothing better to do. Because in fact, what they were doing is the most American thing you can do is to stand up to your government and say, no, we don't agree with this.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, it's absolutely and positively despicable.
And for him to bring up black people is kind of like so ironic. It's so ironic that he would use them as any example in any form for any reason.
All of a sudden, Stephen Miller cares about minorities. You couldn't find anybody.
Yeah, what about the black people you're saying? Come on.
You couldn't find anybody that's more discriminatory towards minorities than Stephen Miller. It's absolutely a joke. Let's go to the other disgusted veteran on the YouTube Super Chat. By the way, anybody in the YouTube Super Chat with a donation, your questions and comments will be read live on the air. Says, I think that I have the best ironic nickname for you, the MAGA Whisperer, myself. I
saw that. I saw that. That's pretty good.
I like that. I like that. Anybody, their questions and comments can be read in the YouTube Super Chat, as I mentioned. And we'll go to Lori. Lori in the YouTube Super Chat says, can't understand why an Alaskan man accepts a motorcycle gift from Russia. Prayers to the Ukrainian people. Yeah, that's also a very good point, Lori. We appreciate your support. All right, here's what we're going to do. It's the favorite part of the show, right? Where people will call in and their questions and comments will be heard.
We need a MAGA caller, please.
Yeah, well, we always get some MAGA callers here and there. Sometimes,
no, but one with a lucid, intelligent argument who can actually have a debate. That's what I'm looking for. I'm challenging a MAGA to call in with a debate that makes sense and based on facts. Because Brian doesn't mind debating with someone who has
it's
some
not
very
that
good
I don't
points.
mind. I welcome it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, many of these MAGA callers don't make any points. They throw stuff at
What
the
if
wall
I were to
and hope
help
it
them?
sticks.
What if I were to say, hey, why don't you ask Brian this?
Boy, they need a lot of help, Leonard. Have you ever been a kindergarten teacher before?
I have
All
not.
due respect, by the way, to kindergartners. I'm not comparing them to MAGA supporters. I would never do that. But it's going to take a lot of patience. I guess that's what I was trying to say.
And objects. You have
Yes.
to have like little toys and objects.
Correct.
And pictures.
Yes. Yeah, you're going to have to show pictures. And that's how you have to teach these people, with visuals, I guess. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283.
Sorry, that wasn't nice.
Is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. All right, let's start off with Aaron. Aaron is first up on PTL. Hey, Aaron, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, nice to talk to you again. The other day, you and I had a nice conversation, and I know I made a joke the other day when you asked me about who I would vote for, but after I got off the call, I thought about it. I only voted for Trump 3 times. I would be willing to give Josh Shapiro a chance, given he would end the tariffs and put the economy back to how it was before Trump messed it up with some of the tariffs, which I'm really against, by the way.
Okay, I like Josh Shapiro. If Barack Obama ran again, I know he can't, but if it was Barack Obama versus Donald Trump, who would you vote for?
I would vote for Obama, give him a chance.
Okay, so
well, Aaron's coming around.
So
See?
I appreciate you saying that. What do you think was your mistake, and what did you maybe oversee from Kamala Harris? And now you might say to yourself, you know what? Maybe I should have voted for her. Is there anything you can say, pertaining to that, Aaron?
Well, it was about like the tariffs. The big thing now is like all the tariffs. I didn't think that he would actually do it. Like the first time I didn't expect him to cause this big mess with the tariffs. Because I want to travel overseas. Americans are starting to become hated overseas. We're not trusted. Americans are suffering, and Trump's base primarily.
May I ask you, Aaron, if I may? You said you didn't expect him to cause a big mess. And I'm not trying to, put you on the spot here, but what would you call January 6th? A mess? Worse, probably, right?
Yeah, actually, after the midterms and after January 6th, I was fed up. I've had enough with him. I guess, I had enough with him.
Then why did you vote for him?
I kind of got caught up in the moment again, back with the buzz of the circle and the politics and the signs, it kind of because I was very ready to move on. In 22, I thought he was a cooked goose, move on from him, brush him aside,
Maybe he's
get the party back.
past the talking points. Maybe he's getting there. Mm-hmm. Maybe Aaron is starting to understand.
I felt in 22, I was it's time to move on. Only a small percentage of the country hates him. He's unpopular. And then honestly, in 2016, the Republicans got lucky once. It's like you defied gravity one time and think that's a long-term strategy. Well, then January 6th happened, and all the election denial and the people.
So what would you say? What would you say, Aaron, to some of the people out there that would respond by saying, you're not telling the truth, you're making excuses, I don't respect what you're saying, what would be your message to them that don't believe you and are still frustrated with people like you who did vote for Donald Trump in November? What would be your message to them?
I would say, look around, look at our party, look at how far we've fallen. I was watching clips of John McCain being decent on the campaign trail, Mitt Romney, Bush, one guy I really like, he'll never run, is I like Charlie Baker out of Massachusetts. I think he would be a respectable president. I mean, I don't think he'll run, but I mean, look what's happened to the party. It never used to be this way. I've been to Republican banquets and dinners 2012, 2010. It never was like that. You never had people talking.
It never was as bad as it is now. I agree with you. I still would argue that Republicans have, for years and decades, have done nothing to address the gun control issues. They do not want universal health care. They are the party that is against government programs that help people that are struggling. They're against maternity leave, welfare, unemployment, food stamps,
education.
But I will agree with you, though, that it has gotten magnified much worse under Donald Trump. If J.D. Vance is running for president, which I believe he will in 2028 versus Gavin Newsom, who would you vote for?
Personally, Gavin Newsom, I think he's very pro, he's very proud of his state. He's very aggressive. I think electorally speaking, strategy wise in the country, I think Josh Shapiro, he would win Pennsylvania easily.
No, listen, I agree. Aaron, I agree with you. I'm a Josh Shapiro fan, not just because he has my same last name. It's not that I disagree with you. I like Josh Shapiro a lot. I'm with you. But tomorrow, if the candidates were, I'm just curious to get your frame of mind. And I'm not saying Gavin Newsom is perfect, but I think everybody knows who I would vote for. If it's Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance tomorrow, if you had to choose between the two right now, based on what you're telling me, who would you side with?
I mean, if it takes to stop MAGA as a strategic chess move, I would just bite the bullet and give Newsom the benefit of the doubt. If it takes stopping MAGA, did
my radio show and our last conversation have anything to do with maybe your tone today?
Yeah, a couple of them, because I know we talk about Trump going into the locker rooms and teenage daughters. People forget about that was brought up in 2016 on Howard Stern. The news cycle lasts we have a 5-second news cycle. I think Trump benefits from having a fire hose of information, flooding the zone, keep it moving so you forget.
Leonard has a question for you, by the way, Aaron. I want to go ahead, Leonard.
Aaron, real quick. If they would redact the Epstein files and take all the victims' information out and leave all the information about Trump in there, the 100,000 pages that they've redacted that the FBI did, would you be in favor of releasing the Epstein files with the information about Trump just the way it is without any redactions?
Yes, let's go for it, 100%.
Well, Aaron,
you've done it.
Aaron, I appreciate your honesty. And even though I'm sure for quite some time we've disagreed on a lot of issues, I appreciate your candid and your honesty. And I think in a human trait, no matter how wrong you might be, to admit that you were wrong in any situation. I feel like I admit I'm wrong to people. Usually it's women in my life.
You should get the Nobel Conversion Prize.
Yeah, I should.
Not the Peace Prize,
I
Conversion
feel
Prize.
like Larry David. I feel like every day I'm apologizing to people and I'm admitting I'm wrong. But I think that's what makes a good human being, though, is admitting that you're wrong. Nobody's perfect. Yes, I think voting for Donald Trump 3 times is a head scratcher. But at the same time, if you're going to be on the right side of history from here on out, I guess I say better late than ever, Aaron. And I do appreciate your candidness.
Is there hope for America now? Because
maybe there is.
We showed that people
because of pushing the limits. See, pushing the limits. I changed one person. By the way, we did have other people who have called into the show in the past that have also changed their decisions. Clearly, it wasn't enough, but I do appreciate Aaron for calling in. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next on PTL. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Brian, Leonard, nice to see you again, Leonard.
Nice to hear from you.
I, for one, am very candid, and I have a lot of pride, and sometimes that's my downfall. But I understand that not voting Democrat is a vote for a Republican. But in my opinion, the Democrats have not earned my vote. Where is the DNC? If I was in charge of the DNC, I would have news conferences every single day on what is going on. They're silent. They don't even exist.
Well, apparently you don't listen to MSNBC. I'm guessing because Ken Martin was on the other day, and I can promise you that he's trying to change the tone of the Democratic Party. He said we need to fight fire with fire.
Did he mention one more thing? Brian, I always hear you say, and it's true. What happens if? Can you just imagine if Biden has said that?
Right.
Can you just imagine if Democrats have said that?
Yeah.
And I tend to agree with you, and that's the problem. They don't do it. They follow the rules, and these senators and congressmen and women who are following the rules are going to lose.
Yeah.
Mark, they need to take the gloves off. They need to stop fighting with one hand behind their back.
No question. Mark, I do appreciate your phone call, my friend, and I do agree with you. We're on the same page there. All right, let's go to somebody by the name of Democrat MAGA.
Again?
Hello, Democrat MAGA. What's on your mind today?
Well, first of all, I'm calling to speak truth, justice, the American way. So I want to correct you on a big mistake. I got to correct Brian on a huge mistake he made when he talked to me last. And then I'll get to my point. And what it is, I have a screenshot from CNN. He told me, I told him about the playbook of the Democrats of defund the police. He said not one prominent Democrat.
Nope, didn't say that. Nope, I never said that.
You
I
said
asked you. Nope. Stop. I asked you to name one prominent Democrat. You were unable to do so. I never said there wasn't one Democrat. There were a few mayors and a few lower level people that were in favor. Very few, but there were some. See, the problem with you is, sir, you put words in my mouth. You made a claim on this show that making it sound like the majority of Democrats want to defund the police. I asked you a specific question. Can you name me one? And you sounded like a fool and you couldn't name me one. So don't call into this show and say, Brian, I got you on. I got you. You said there were no Democrats. I never said that. You can go back and rewind the tape and look at it. All my podcasts are on YouTube. You could go ahead and listen to it.
And unlike you, if Brian was inaccurate or I misspoke, we would admit it. We have no problem admitting it. But you know what? You're trying to gaslight everyone and make it seem like something happened that didn't. I remember that conversation.
And Leonard, the highest level Democrats were never against defunding the police. I'm talking about Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and all the higher ups. What they were in favor for was reallocating funds from one precinct to another for better training. That's not defunding the police. So if you want to roll out and name a few assemblymen or assemblywomen or one or two mayors, okay, I disagree with them. But you made it sound like the overwhelming majority of Democrats want to defund the police, just like you guys say the overwhelming majority of Democrats want to take all your guns away. They're both lies. So don't misquote me.
Here's what I got for you. So the low-level one on CNN, I screenshot it from today. Kamala Harris praised defund the police movement in June 2020 radio interview on CNN.
What did she say?
And it goes
what did she say? She was never for defunding the police.
Never.
She was never for defunding. She was never for defunding the police. She campaigned on it. What she was for was allocating funds from one precinct to another. She didn't want to take money away from the police. That's wrong. That's a lie.
You wanted to take money from the police and put it into different
reallocating funds to other areas where police can get better training. That's not what we call defund the police, and you don't know what you're talking about.
The chief of police of D.C. is asking
directly from CNN.
Okay, well,
let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
What I wanted to ask Leonard is, it came out in the Wall Street Journal today. What do you attribute the Democrats having the lowest public approval rating in like the last 35 years?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. I will tell you what it is. It's because we are people with morals and ethics, and we're trying to play by the rules, and we're trying to follow the law, and we're trying to give people due process, and we're trying to follow the ethical pattern of government and the norms and the institutions and maintain the institutions that made America great. And we're playing against the MAGAs who are lawless. They don't believe in civil rights. They don't believe in minority rights. They don't believe in educational rights. They think that they should have all the money, and that the billionaires, that's why they're unpopular. And I would agree with you. It's a mistake.
I would also say, though, you call yourself Democrat MAGA. I'm going to stop calling you that because you're
Just
MAGA.
a MAGA.
Okay? You're MAGA.
No. Mega MAGA.
You can say no until the cows come home, but you never asked the question, Brian, what do you think about Donald Trump's approval numbers at the 6-month mark, where some of the worst they've been in 50 years? See, you won't ask something like, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You only want to talk about the Democrat numbers, but you don't want to talk about the president of the United States right now, who's an adjudicated rapist, who's a 34-count felon, who is literally ripping up parts of the Constitution. But what you want to focus on, look at the approval numbers of the Democrats. You're not a Democrat. You're a MAGA. You're not fooling me for 1 second.
MAGA.
And you tried to get me. No. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. You tried to get me in a gotcha moment earlier, and you were proven to be a liar. You mischaracterize things that I say. You'll never get me in a gotcha moment. Okay. You're not Democrat MAGA. You're a MAGA through and through. Let me guess. You're a middle-aged white dude. Am I wrong?
Single.
No, I'm married, but I am a middle-aged white dude.
Boy, do I feel bad for your wife. Oh, my goodness.
Isn't it a strange marriage?
Hey, let me ask you this, too.
Oh, I can't wait.
Two other things, too.
Oh, I can't
what
wait.
Do you think about people going in a huge uproar because they put the National Guard in D.C. for 30 days? Do you know there was over 600 arrests that wouldn't have been made if they weren't there? So wouldn't you
First of all, you assuming that those arrests wouldn't have been made unless they were there is idiocy, number one. Number two, excuse me, I'm trying to give you some facts. So
and he's
please,
assuming they're legitimate arrests.
Number two, you don't even know if they're legitimate. You don't know if any of these people were convicted. And the overwhelming majority that we do know of these people that were arrested were not felonies. So you have no idea what you're talking about.
But if it's just because it's a misdemeanor means it's fine, you can just go ahead and.
So you care about people. You care about misdemeanors and people that were arrested in D.C. without knowing any of the circumstances. But you're totally okay with Donald Trump, who pardoned a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists who beat cops. So spare me your BS.
You don't know for a fact that it's all misdemeanors. What's your statistic?
You're the one who's making. Okay, because they've already claimed that. The police precincts have already been putting out that information. You know what's public? Every arrest that have been made. Why don't you do your research and look it up? You're the one making the claim. Ooh, they made 600 arrests. In fact, there was 600 attempted murder charges. You don't know how this works. You're the one trying to praise them for 600 arrests. Why don't we call the people on January 6th hostages and patriots, right? That's the guy who you support. He called them hostages and patriots. But if somebody shoplifts, or God forbid, if somebody's jaywalking, you want to praise them for that, because some of those arrests were shoplifters and jaywalkers
and homeless
and misdemeanors and homeless people.
And so any city can do that. I worked in a city where we could go through the city any night, any time. And I promise you, I was a lieutenant. I could direct my guys to go ahead and put everybody in jail. And what you would have is a bunch of homeless people in jail for vagrancy and for loitering and things like that. And then you put them in jail. These are people with no money, and they have no way to pay the fines. So they get out in a day or two, and any city can do mass arrests anytime they want. But are they legitimate? Is that what the public wants? And by the way, just so you know, in June of 2020, Kamala Harris's exact quote on the interview you're talking about was to reimagine how we are creating safety.
MAGA, put your wife on the phone,
and redirect resources.
Can you please put your wife on the phone?
I don't think he'll let her speak. He's a MAGA.
Put your wife on the phone. I want to speak to her. Is she in the car?
Very funny, but no.
Does she sleep?
Let her talk.
Hey, Leonard, let me. I got.
No. I'm more interested in your wife. Does she sleep in the same bed with you?
Actually, she does.
When was the last time you two guys were intimate? Be honest.
Estimate.
1989.
That doesn't.
No surprise.
This is the first time that this guy's actually said something that's factual
and accurate.
Yeah.
And believable.
Yeah. He and Donald
Trump.
This
is more believable than what he said about Kamala Harris.
He just said about his wife not being intimate with him since 1989 is more believable than anything else he's ever said on this show.
I'm going to call him Mega MAGA.
Sir, I appreciate you. We're going to call you the MAGA virgin, if that's okay.
Okay. All right. I'll call you next week.
All right. I appreciate your time, MAGA. Thank you very much.
And thanks, Mega MAGA.
Since 1989. Wow. That's rough.
And I'm sure, and I haven't looked at the chat, but I'm sure in the chat, they're now believing what he says instead of saying he's just a liar.
Yeah. Well, he didn't lie about that. I don't think there's always you know how people say there's always a little bit of truth to every joke. I don't think that
he's one of those guys who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
But he's actually in the, lower IQ, silly, kind of nobody really pays attention. They're like, okay, MAGA. What was his name? MAGA more. What was his name?
He called him Democrat MAGA.
Yeah, he's no Democrat.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not. That would be like saying he's a male gigolo.
There's no
and we
such
know that's
thing.
not the truth either. All right, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you do want to be a part of the conversation. Let's see here. Why don't we go to Joseph? Joseph is next up on PTL. What's up, Joseph? Joseph, are you there?
He's still thinking about the last call.
All right, Joseph, we lost Joseph. Marge had a question for Leonard. So, Marge, I'll give you the floor. Go ahead, Marge.
Hi, Marge.
Hey, Leonard. How are you?
Hi, Marge.
Hey, I don't think I've ever talked to you.
You have a question? What's on your mind?
Well, I think Brian remembers me. I parked my trailer down here in Alabama, and I was just wanting to know if you guys had any questions for me.
You called into a radio show to ask if the host or co-host have any. Okay, all right, let's go with that.
I
got some questions.
Because
I got some questions.
Know
Marge,
why you so
Marge,
mean to that
Marge, I got
man.
some questions for you. Who did you vote for in the last
Well,
election?
you know, I voted for Donald Trump.
Okay, why did you vote for Donald Trump?
Well, because I told you before I couldn't have that Joy and that cackling black woman in there.
You didn't want the black woman
Is
in
she
there?
being racist on purpose?
I just couldn't have her
You're proud
in
to be
there.
racist? You're proud of that?
You didn't want the black woman in there? What does it matter what the color of her skin is, Marge?
Well, she was with that there man, you know.
Yeah, but she was smarter. She was more educated. She was more articulate. She's a prosecutor. She was a senator. She has a clean record. The other person was accused of all kinds of sexual crimes. He's an adjudicated rapist. He goes in people's rooms with a 15-year-old girl dressing.
Marge, when is your Klan?
Leonard, we don't know all that now.
Yeah, we do.
Marge, when was what time is your Klan meeting tonight?
Well, I don't go to them, but we do go down to the holler, down to these parties, and we have these bonfires.
Oh, we know what kind of parties you're talking about. You know what kind of
parties. Well, we have these bonfires, you know, we sit around, we pick on them.
Question. Marge, you wanted the questions. What do you think of the swastika? What do you think about that?
What's that?
Oh, you don't know what that is. What do you think of Adolf Hitler?
Oh, well, I didn't like him.
You didn't like him.
I didn't like him last year. Huh?
That makes no sense.
What do you think of Martin Luther King Jr.? What do you think of him?
I reckon he's all right.
You reckon?
I don't know too much about him, you know, because I didn't go
you don't
to
know
lots of schools, you know.
You don't know who Martin Luther King is?
He's a black reverend that ended Jim Crow and fought
Are
against
you
slavery.
sure, Leonard?
Yes,
I'm
we're sure. We're sure
Yes,
about
it's
that.
factually
Marge,
accurate.
I appreciate your call.
Okay, honey.
Marge,
I'll call you another time.
Marge,
Okay?
you sound like a very intelligent woman that is very educated, and you are also known as what we would call Donald Trump's base. A woman living in a trailer who I believe is white, who doesn't really know anything about who Martin Luther King Jr. is, and said she voted for Trump because she didn't want to vote for the black lady. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Donald Trump's base. 702-221-7283 is the number to call.
Straight up MAGA.
Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next on PTL. Hello, Joseph.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
All right. Here's my piece. Hearing Trump and all those other MAGAs talking about getting rid of anything to do with slavery is because all they're doing is they're trying to bring back slavery, and they're thinking that it's good, that slavery brings in benefits. But the problem is that those so-called benefits are nothing more but those whip marks on their backs, and that's because they enjoy doing that. I mean, and also, speaking about the previous episodes of your show about Dean Cain wanted to be a member of ICE, makes me want to say, all that guy is nothing more but a disgrace to the symbol of Superman, which is a symbol of hope.
I thought Dean Cain was Superman. How could you talk about that, about Superman? Come on, man. You're out of line. Come on. Dean Cain's a hero. Yeah, he's a hero. He's a wonderful actor too. Give that guy an Oscar. Wait, what was the last movie he was in? Jiggly with Jennifer. I don't know. What was the last movie he did?
You mean what rating? What was it rated?
What was the last I don't know. Weekly. I don't know. What
was he in the Epstein files? Or
he might be. I don't know. He might be. I'm sure he's very well trained though to be an ICE agent. Very well trained because he's Superman. He can do anything, right?
Yeah, I can't wait till he tries to make an arrest.
Can somebody please build some kryptonite around his house and make sure he can never get out and trap him? Because I feel like that's what they've already done with his career. Because I haven't heard that guy's name in like 10 years.
I agree on that one too. And also speaking of Stephen Miller, I mean, you were right about Stephen Miller. He is an Adolf Hitler wannabe, more like Gobos, or whatever his last name was.
Yeah.
Thinking that all these so-called protesters are nothing but white hippies. I mean, come on. The real white hippies are those Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol.
I saw the crowd.
Yeah,
the crowd
also,
was not white hippies.
Yeah.
The crowd was a mix of people. I saw minorities in the crowd. I saw Hispanic. I saw white people, young and old. And so that is just Stephen Miller's way of trying to gaslight the public and create a narrative that he wants it to be. And he wishes that was accurate. But even if it was old white people, what's wrong with that, Brian?
I agree. Let's go to the YouTube super chat. Combat Medic says, to MAGA Democrat, blow-up dolls do not count as your wife. Please, let's get Lev Parnas on the show. I'll see if Lev can come on the show next week. Do you find it interesting that a lot of MAGA people that may go into a sex shop, I don't know where I'm going with this, and then maybe they'll ask the person at the counter, I want to get a blow-up doll. And maybe on the box, it might say, feels like a real woman. But I feel like many of these MAGA people don't know what a real woman feels like. So
what's the approximate age of the blow-up doll? You think it's a full-grown woman?
If Donald Trump is buying a blow-up doll, probably 14.
Is there what I'm asking, and I'll ask it because it's a legit question. Is there a certain amount of air of possible perversion around a certain group of people that have a certain amount of power and a certain amount of money? Like, is it consistent with how those people act?
I'm not an expert on people that buy blow-up dolls, because I never bought one myself. But I will say this: I would say that the overwhelming majority of people that are buying those things are probably people who look like Donald Trump Jr. I'll just leave it at that.
Maybe we can ask Mega MAGA next time.
Yeah, we'll ask him
what exactly he meant
What's
by
his blow-up doll's name. Yeah, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Terry is calling out of Indiana. Hello, Terry.
Sorry. Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
Hi, Leonard.
Hey there.
It was a little off subject, not too much, though. I had something really weird happen to me today. And I kind of like to hear your take on it a little bit. So I get food stamps, right? I've been getting them for a while, and I'm having a little rough time, getting through life here.
Yeah.
Today I went to use my food stamps, and they said there's nothing on my food stamp card.
Oh no!
Now I've done nothing to do any kind of shit to get my food stamps taken away from me or anything like that. When I get to the food stamp, first of all, I start calling the food stamp office here in Indiana. They can't even tell me what the hell happened.
So you didn't even get a notice or anything, which is, by the way,
no, I didn't get any kind of a notice or anything. And
that's
check
unbelievable.
Then I had to go down to the food stamp office, talk to the people down there, and they're telling me that there's a good chance that my card got hacked. And I go, wait a minute, my food stamp card didn't go out on the internet. Okay, or it stays in my wallet, and I use it at Walmart and at Dollar General.
Sir, do you think that it's possible that the government, within the Trump administration, this is on their end, and they're just stopping
it's really
the payments?
funny that the hackers hacked my. They told me last night that it got hacked at midnight, right when the food stamps go out, right?
You think it was Doge that hacked it?
Guess where they got hacked at?
Where?
Florida.
Interesting.
Florida.
Interesting.
You think it's really part of the Doge cuts, and they're just lying to you?
Well, I'd like, at some point or another, I need to, identify with you guys.
Here's what
some information.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think happened. I think Ron DeSantis took your food stamp card and used it to fund his wife's governor campaign. I'm
maybe
sorry.
Maybe some new
This
boosts.
is not a funny subject. I apologize, sir. I tried to make a little bit of levity there.
No, that's cool.
But
Brian.
listen,
I dropped you.
Terry, what are you going to do if you don't get your food stamp money? What's going to happen?
That's what I'm. You know what they want me to do? They want me to go down and file a police report on it.
Well, here's the thing. If you got no information, that is beyond horrific. I think you got to go down to your local welfare office and speak to somebody and have an appointment in person, because I believe what they would probably, I would hope they would do this for you, is give you a new card.
That's where I've been all day.
And they didn't give you another card or replacement or anything like that? They didn't have any answers?
And you know what they told me? That they're not replacing those cards.
Wow.
So they replace it if you go in with a police report? Like if you took the time to file a police report?
I don't know. They told me I have to file a police report.
Yeah.
And then not only that, they told me I have to, because now it's a federal crime. So
can I explain something to you, Terry? It's probably worth your while to do the police report, because if you take that back and you give them a case number, they want proof that you did not get that card. And so legally, now you're showing them that you took the step and the card's gone, and now you can take steps to replace it. So my advice is it might be worth your while. I would, if that's the only money you have coming in, I don't think you have a choice. I think you have to follow through.
Listen, sir, I'm in all seriousness, I'm really sorry what you're going through.
It's going to be rough.
I want you to please keep us updated, and if there's anything we can do to help you, please let us know. I feel for you, sir, and I hope you get it taken care of. If not, please shoot me an email and we'll see what we can do to help you. But I'm pretty confident this probably wouldn't have happened under the Joe Biden or Kamala Harris administration.
And it never did.
I wish you luck, sir, and I'm sorry what you're going through. I really am. Let's go to Todd. Todd is next up on PTL. Hey, Todd, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, this is Todd Blaze out of Seattle. Hey, it's my second time calling your show. Last time I was so nervous I couldn't get what I wanted to say out.
Yeah, don't be nervous.
But yeah, I wanted to call you and talk about Gavin Newsom. I told my ex-wife 10 years ago that this guy was going to be president. I said, look at this guy. I said, this guy's going to be freaking president one day. I'm telling you, right? And the way he's trolling Trump and the way he's acting, man, this dude is on it. I'm a serious Gavin Newsom fan. I want this guy to run for president. I want him to be the next president for the next 8 years. We got to get Orange Jesus out of the White House today.
I like the Gavin Newsom 2.0 that we've seen in the last few months. He's certainly been. I didn't like what I saw from Gavin Newsom with his podcast. I was very disappointed in him. But I think he's finally, and I think some Democrats like the Gavin Newsoms are finally starting to get it. We need, as he said, we need to fight fire with fire. We can't do the Michelle Obama when they go low, we go high anymore. That doesn't work. And I think it's going to catch on within the Democrat Party. And I'm not saying everybody has to put up, foolish tweets, to mock Trump. I think it's funny. And I think Gavin Newsom should continue to do that because it drives the right crazy. But I think you have to be more aggressive. You have to call these people out for who they are.
Yes.
Gavin Newsom finally understands
he
that.
He got out of the safe zone.
Yeah. And
he left the safe zone.
And once every single one of these Democrats figure out what Gavin Newsom is doing now,
Brian,
the party will be better off.
Brian, but the funny thing is the crazy reaction of those Fox News hosts. When they get on there, they're clueless. I'm like,
they say, I can't believe he said that.
Yeah,
they're shocked that he said that, and it's the same thing that Trump said.
What universe are you living in, man? You know what I'm saying? Do they even watch like live TV, or they just live in a Fox universe? You know what I'm saying?
Fox, OAN,
and you're not.
Yep, Fox, OAN, Newsmax, maybe at their Klan rallies. I don't know, but yeah,
he said, "Oh my God," he used all caps. That's like yelling. That's impolite.
I think they're at their Klan bingo night. I believe, and at Klan bingo night, I think after somebody yells bingo, and then they scream out the N-word,
get a free hook.
They then put out a MAGA conspiracy theory.
It's incredible, Brian. I'm telling you.
Oh, I know.
Like I watched that one guy, and he was like reading a tweet. I'm like, he's still not getting it yet. He hasn't gotten it yet. He's like, a governor shouldn't act like this. It's like, yeah, a governor should not. Maybe a president either, dummy. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe one listener said maybe they're watching Lindell TV. Does that still exist?
Oh, yeah.
Is he still trying to sell those pillows, those cocaine pillows?
Sheets now or something because the pillows wouldn't sell.
Hey, Brian,
lumpy pillows. Lumpy pillows.
Sheets with holes in them.
They are crackhead pillows made by crackheads.
I like you, my friend. You call back
Lindell,
anytime, all right?
pillows.
I appreciate that.
Hey, and also, hey, Brian, also, go Raiders.
Go Raiders. That's right. Go Raiders.
They're going to have a good season.
I'm actually going to the UNLV football game on Saturday, believe it
They're
or not.
always fun to watch.
I'm excited. Well, not always, but the last couple of years they have been. Not always.
Well, I meant last year they were fun to watch.
Yeah. And then maybe next week I'll do maybe a segment on my dating life.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Could I throw you could I ask you the questions and set you up?
Maybe, because I have a very interesting date I'm supposed to have over the weekend, and it could go two different ways. So maybe I'll give people an update next week.
And maybe people can make predictions.
Yeah.
You can give them the basics, and they could say, well, sounds to me like it's probably not going to go.
I'm not going to say why, but let's just say it's a very important date that will maybe decide whether I continue to see this person or not. I'll let you guys make your decisions from there. 702-221-7283. No, it's not Stormy Daniels. And
what's your record, by the way, Brian? The longest amount of time you've dated. What is your
5 years.
5 years.
I was with somebody
I
for
would
5
have took
years.
the under on that.
Yep, I was with somebody for 5 years. I was with somebody for 4 years. Donald Trump was with somebody for 13 seconds. She's also known as Stormy Daniels. All right, let's go to Frank. Frank,
and he didn't marry her either.
That's true. Although he probably wanted to. Frank, what's going on?
Hi, Brian and Leonard.
Hi there.
I got news flash for you. Did you see where a judge blocked Donald Trump from taxpayers paying E. Jean Carroll's money?
I did not see that, but it certainly does not surprise me.
Where's he pulling the money from?
Yeah, I don't know where he's pulling the money from, but what we do know is that E. Jean Carroll won twice. And Donald Trump, if you recall,
it's about 86 million right
yeah,
now, right?
Yeah. And a jury of his peers ruled that he is an adjudicated, let's just call it sexual abuser. That's what they ruled, that he is liable for the abuse of E. Jean Carroll. But what people forget, my friend, is that there's 25 other women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife, in court documents in a deposition. And then when he decided to pay her off, she withdrew. Thank you to Brian Lipscomb for his donation. Brian says, Brian, I hope you and Leonard realize that Marge is actually Shelley from West Virginia. I did not know that either. If that's true, she did a very good job. 702-221.
She disguised her voice? Is that what you?
Perhaps. I don't know. I don't know that for sure. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's see who are we going to next here. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck is next up on PTL. Hey, Chuck. What's going on, man? Chucky. Chuckles. It's Chuckles there.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yeah.
Lower your radio for me, my friend, because we can hear it in the background. Okay, and then the floor is yours.
Chuck, what's on your mind, Chuck?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chuck,
is there anything that you'd like to say?
Comment? Hey, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Look here, man. I didn't realize that Epstein thing was this big, man. That Epstein thing has got so much trash on all these people, man. It's unreal.
Well, I would say Donald Trump might be at the top of the list. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, big time, man.
Can I tell you something? I'm going to share a story with you, Chuck. It's a very personal story, so hopefully nobody else will hear it. So I had a doctor's appointment last week. Everything's fine. I'm doing good, but it's like a yearly physical and all that stuff. Just, I'm 45 years old, so checking everything's working fine. So I didn't know that my doctor is a Trump supporter. Okay. She didn't know what I did for a living. I told her, and she's like, oh wait a second. I've heard of you before. And
oh boy.
And she's like, what is it you don't like about Donald Trump? And I said, listen, I'd rather not talk about this. We're going to be here for hours. But I said, Epstein files. Why won't Trump release the Epstein files? He's in the Epstein files. And she goes, oh no, if that was the case, Joe Biden wouldn't have released it. I looked at her and I said, first of all, if there's Democrats in there and they were trying to protect Democrats, that's quite plausible. That's not an excuse for Donald Trump not being in the Epstein files. She's like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. And then and it's like, I go down the list with her. This is a doctor. This is my doctor. And I'm like, is this doctor going to try to kill me with hydroxychloroquine? Like, this is my doctor we're talking about here. So I'm going to get another doctor, but she's a lunatic and I will not be seeing her again. So I just shared that. I just shared that personal story with you, Chuck. I hope nobody else.
They're all lunatics.
Oh man, that's cool. I can understand, man. But I'm telling you, man, he had dirt on everybody around the world, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then Lindsey Graham came in. Then Lindsey Graham came in the office and wanted to give me a colonoscopy. Okay, I lied.
For free?
That was the part. That was the part of the story that wasn't true. I was lying about that. I wish it was true.
You know, there's some timing on that also, Chuck. You know, in 2019, Epstein was arrested and he never made it to trial, and then he supposedly committed suicide in his jail cell. But you know who was president when that happened? You got it, Donald Trump.
There you go.
And the Ghislaine Maxwell, by the time Biden was president, Ghislaine Maxwell was already indicted and she was already on her way to jail in December of about 2021.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, and the victims hadn't come forward and the victims were not pushing it.
All right,
so
listen.
the timing was
Yeah.
But he's trying to make it seem like they sat on it for 4 years.
Yeah,
that's not
true.
what happened.
Not true. And I want to just set the record straight because I don't want Lindsey Graham to sue me, and I don't want to get hate mail. I lied, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't Lindsey Graham that gave me the colonoscopy. It was George Santos.
And that's comedy.
Yeah, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Can George sue me? He's in jail right now, where he's probably getting colonoscopies. Let's go into Rebecca. Rebecca's next on PTL. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Leonard, Brian,
Hi
love
there.
you both. When did Just Dance, J.D. Vance, Pickled Pete, and the little Nazi Stephen Miller all suddenly care about black people in Washington, D.C.? That whole thing was a joke. They look like the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Do you think that the move on Washington, D.C. Was racist in nature, and does it upset you?
The whole thing upsets me. They don't need to have the National Guard down there. They don't need to have troops down there. It's ridiculous. And all those people protesting were not paid Antifa. Those are real people because they care about democracy.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. They don't care about democracy. The people like Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance certainly don't. And the people that were protesting yesterday peacefully, they care about our democracy and they care about what's happening in this country right now. Listen, I'm going to say this again, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this on the radio, but I believe it is plausible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it is plausible that Donald Trump remains in office. I mean, he joked around with Zelensky.
I believe that's what it's about.
He joked around about starting a war or being in a war and not having an election. Who's to stop Donald Trump from doing something like that? I am not. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Do I think it's possible that it's going to happen? Yes, I actually do, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that's part of the long game, bringing the military, shutting down D.C., putting up gates and fences like they do in the Middle East, surrounding the palace with a palace guard.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day, didn't Donald Trump kind of tease a couple of days ago and say, when there's no elections during war. So if we're at war, there may not be an election. So I think that's part of the long game. I'm not sure that's accurate or not.
I'm not sure either. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis is, who are we going to? We're going to Steve. Steve is next up on PTL. Hello, Steve.
Brian, how's it going?
What's up?
Hey, I just listen to your show a lot when driving around town here in Vegas, and I had a similar experience that you just had at the doctor's office, but mine was at the dentist's office with a crazy MAGA and his assistant while they were doing a root canal on me.
Oh,
that's painful.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Did we lose you?
2 weeks, and I didn't have any problems. And then all of a sudden, they get the root canal done, and they just start talking crazy.
So you're getting a root canal done, which is one of the most unpleasurable experiences you can have, other than the Lindsey Graham colonoscopy. And you're telling me that the dentist and his assistant are saying like MAGA stuff? Like, what are they talking about?
Yes. I'm sure it was a few months back. Let me think. The first day assistant this lady was just chirping in about something about Christianity and like how Trump is bringing it back and all this other nonsense that they shouldn't be talking about. And then he's talking about how good Trump is going to be cleaning up the streets of people who don't belong here and all this other crap. Oh. And I'm sure there was a few other nonsense. I kind of tuned them out after a few minutes. It was bad.
You know what they should have been saying? I was like, they should have been talking about how so many of the Donald Trump supporters, they should be giving them teeth. That's what they should have been talking about.
Free teeth.
I'm telling you, it was the most. Number one, you're getting a root canal, and so you're already in a weird
you
place.
Can't mess
and now you got these maggots in your mouth. And anyways, I listen to your show a lot, man. I really appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Just like
Thanks,
you don't find a lot of liberal or just common sense Democratic media on the radio, and it's hard to find. So I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing. And
yeah, thank you.
I listen every day when I'm driving around town.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say. I think you need to get a new dentist, just like I need to get a new doctor. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
oh my goodness,
that's just dangerous. Messing with a
How
dentist.
about that? Getting a root canal. It's almost like if you get pulled over by a cop and his assistant comes over, and while they're writing you the ticket, they start talking about how much they love Donald Trump. You know, it's like, this is horrible. And
what if he said, "I hate Trump" or "F Trump" or something like that?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say that on the radio?
Yeah, I don't know.
70.
I think you are. I think
You
you are. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Lewis is next up on PTL. What's up, Lewis?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good.
Hey there, Lewis.
Real quick, you know what? I'm kind of surprised, Brian. Nobody has done that. None of the networks or none of the pundits have come out. Like, I know right now, for example, they're talking about what's going on in Texas, that they're going to be they're trying to pick up 5 new seats, and then Governor Newsom is going to do the same thing in California, where he's going to pick up 5 new seats. But my concern, and I don't hear anybody talking about it, is what about like all the other states? Because if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot more red states than there are blue states. If they do this in every red state, I mean, what are the numbers like? Like, I'm sure somebody had the Democratic Party has to be studying the numbers and saying, okay, we could pick up X amount of seats, and the Republican can pick up X amount of seats. Who can pick up the more seats? By gerrymandering the entire country.
Yeah.
Well, there has been studies done, but it would take every red state. We're talking Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, all those states that are all grouped together in the Sun Belt and the Iron Belt. It would be a slight advantage for the Republicans if they did every single state. However, the states like California, Illinois, New York, they have more electoral votes. They have more people. So it would kind of balance out, but I don't see how every state would be able to change by the 2026. I don't think it's possible. I think it's a handful, Texas, and then California counters. If they do Indiana, because they're trying to do Indiana, then I think they would counter with New York or Illinois, but I don't think it's going to be a nationwide thing.
Right. But because, and I know that he's lying. But Governor Abbott, the idiot in Texas, Governor Abbott said that California would not be able to just because they've already supposedly they want to blame the Democrats. They're saying that no, California has already gerrymandered their maps so much that they can't pick up too many more seats.
No, that's not accurate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they can go. They can go almost all blue if they want to.
Yeah. I mean,
with
it's
the
okay.
exception of 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's okay to be
sections.
concerned, but do your research and find out how difficult it is to do certain things. But I do like what Gavin Newsom is doing, and I think you got to push back and you got to fight fire with fire. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call.
He's pushing the
limits. Like
limits.
to be a part of the conversation. Let's see who we going to next here. Let's go. Let's see. We just had Lou on, right? Let's go to Jack. Jack is next on PTL. Hey, Jack, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, what's going on, man? I just stole my topic. Hey, Leonard, how are you?
Hi there, Jack. What's on your mind?
Good, man. So, I wanted to talk about the gerrymandering and the Texas going ahead with that after, they're warned that, if they do that, we're going to counter and do that in California. And I'm watching the Texas Republicans and the California Republicans crying now that that we're fighting fire with fire. It's amazing. Like, I don't understand why they think they can do something. And I said this before. I think they thought that we wouldn't get down in the mud and fight with them. And now they're crying that we're doing that. And I don't know, like Leonard said, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I think, between if California gets involved because of Texas, and then we counter, if they do another state. But I guess I wanted to get your guys' opinions on, what after the smoke
Jack, if it goes state by state, the Dems will win, because the states that are going to get involved are bigger and have more electoral votes, and they have more people. So I could see it going maybe 2 or 3 states, but I honestly, Brian, I don't know what you think. I don't see it going any further than that, because Illinois may not be. New York hasn't started yet. Illinois may not be willing to do it. Washington State will. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's not a whole bunch of states that are just jumping, getting ready to jump in.
I'll take your opinion on that, Leonard, because I think we are in total agreement on that one. Let's go to Arthur. Thank you for the call, Jack. Arthur's next on PTL. Hey, Arthur, what's going on, man?
Man, Marvin Gaye's still singing about that. So, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Which song? Which song is he talking about?
Oh, this is the first time. I'm staunchly against Donald Trump. I see Adolf Hitler #2 on the horizon. He's doing everything to whitey-wash American history by negating everything that the black folk have done. Oh, by the way, I'm an old white boomer. To negate everything the black folk have done, which they have done to help build this country. Black folk helped build the White House. I bet MAGA don't even know that. And if Jesus was to show up, they'd accuse him of being woke, and they'd deport him because he has a dark tint to the skin. It's all about the tint of the skin. I am so sick of this man trying to divide America. It's not me. I'm 71 years old. I'm not worried about me.
Where do you live, sir?
I lived a pretty decent life. What I'm scared about is my children and
I
my
get it.
grandchildren.
I get it. I can understand why you feel that way. Sir, where do you live?
I'm in West by God, Virginia, believe it or not.
Virginia. Wow. Okay. Wow.
He's in MAGA heaven.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, there's a lot of MAGA out there. I couldn't live out there. It's interesting, though, isn't it, sir, that I think one of the biggest character flaws of MAGA supporters, and by the way, there's quite a few of them, but I think one of the biggest character flaws is they only think and think through their own lens. They can't put themselves in other people's shoes, right? If you're wealthy, you vote for Donald Trump because you want to save money on your taxes. If you're ignorant and stupid and you're white, chances are you voted for Donald Trump because you don't want brown people in this country. Like, they don't know what it's like. They think just because they were born in the United States of America and they were lucky that we should treat all migrants like animals. They have no empathy for other people.
They don't understand how much they've done
until it happens to
build
them.
this country. Like you said, the White House. That's a historical fact that many minorities worked on building the White House, if not mostly.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. And then they go out and they degrade a whole nation of people. All Latinos are criminal. They be eating the dogs. Well, their karma's kicking them right in the ass right now because they don't have no workers down in Mexico, down in Florida that can handle the heat and the construction that they're going to need. And the fields, the stuff is rotting. I went to Walmart the other day and there was stuff that wasn't there. And it's because it's not coming over from Mexico.
They're doing jobs that Americans won't do. Americans will not do those jobs.
Let me tell you something about J.D. Vance, because you mentioned the eating the cats and the dogs. Let me just say this real quickly, because I'm in the joking mood today. There's a better chance that J.D. Vance wears protection and sexually assaults a couch than a bunch of undocumented immigrants eating cats and dogs.
But there's no proof of that.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't have any proof yet.
Well, I mean, I just look at J.D. Vance, and he looks like a guy who starred on the show To Catch a Predator.
More likely than not.
Yeah, I would more like that. Sir, I appreciate your phone call, sir. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I think we have another Jack on the line now. Let's go to Jack number 2.
Jack 2.0.
Hey, Jack, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
You talking about Jack from Rhode Island?
There you go, Jack from Rhode Island. What's up, my friend?
Man. I just wanted to get your guys' take on everything going on with Russia and see if maybe at this point, if you guys think that at this point, with how bad Russia and Vladimir Putin in particular has always kind of wanted to destroy the American experiment, if maybe this whole thing with Trump being so friendly with him has been his plan from the beginning when he became powerful to, do psyops and, misinformation to get our president to behave this way.
I don't think there's any doubt. I think that Putin and Trump have had a relationship for years before he ever became president. I personally believe that there's some sort of financial situation going on there.
Deutsche Bank.
But I also believe that Donald Trump also admires evil dictators, Viktor Orban, Kim Jong-un. Why is that? I think because Donald Trump really wants to be one himself. So I think it's probably,
exactly right.
It's probably a little bit of both, but there's something going on there between him and Putin that we don't know about.
If you guys haven't listened to Tim Miller's latest podcast, he's with Gary Kasparov. It's very insightful.
I like Tim Miller. I think Tim. I'd love to get Tim on the show. Actually, I should probably reach out to him because
you know him, Jack.
Tim's great. Yeah, getting Tim Miller. Tim, he asked you if you knew Tim Miller, which I would assume you don't.
No, I don't.
Yeah, thank you for the call, my friend. I would love to get Tim Miller on the show. I have at the Bulwark. I have some context there, so I could maybe make that happen. I've had some other people from there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Very smart.
Putin was KBG. He was undercover operative. He was an intelligence officer, and just my opinion, I think that Trump is no match for him.
By the way, somebody on the YouTube super chat said the new hit TV show that JD Vance would star in, To Couch a Predator. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Pam. Pam is next on PTL. Hey, Pam, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard.
Hey, Pam.
There's so many things to talk about, but what I would focus on right now is JD Vance and his vacations. He's gone on 8 vacations since he's become vice president, including India and Europe, and going to Disneyland and having them shut half the park down during the busiest part of the season.
And he gets booed everywhere he goes. He gets booed everywhere.
Yeah. They had him raise a river in Ohio so he could go kayaking with his family. I mean, he's being treated like, the emperor, in waiting, I guess.
He's so awkward, but I got to be honest with you, Pam. The images from yesterday in the video, JD Vance walking into that meeting with the service members,
getting booed,
and worse than that, there was a guy there that was screaming to him, and it was like he's a few feet away from him, and he's screaming, couch effort, couch effort, couch effort. And I'm like, I almost peed my pants. I was laughing so hard because it's, first of all, it takes a lot of balls to do that, okay? And second of all, that JD Vance heard it.
Is that beneath the office of a protester?
Yeah.
Is that beneath a protester to do that?
Yeah, I think every single time we see JD Vance in public, we should say that to him. I condone that. I condone that behavior.
Well, everywhere he goes, it's like that. Everywhere he goes, they boo him. And, and he's like a mini Trump. He's just taking as much money from our country as he can to spend on himself and his family. It's just despicable.
Didn't he call Donald Trump America's Hitler at one time?
Possibly America's next
yes,
Adolf
yes,
Hitler. Yeah.
And now he licks his boots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
It's just horrible. And thank you for saying about Joe Scarborough, because I saw that the other day and I couldn't believe it.
Listen,
it's like, doesn't he get the fact that he's trolling, that the governor is trolling Trump? I mean, doesn't he get that?
Listen, the bottom line here is that JD Vance only looks out for himself, just like Donald Trump. He doesn't even look after his own family. We remember when that whole big balls scandal came out, and the guy made blatantly racist statements about people of Indian descent. His wife is Indian, and he was one of the first people to defend this guy and say he deserves a second chance. That's not a man. A real man is one who defends his family, defends his wife. Now, I'm not saying you always have to defend your family member if they're wrong, but in this case, you're defending your family member from racist statements. It's like so night and day. And JD Vance took the opposite approach because that's who JD Vance is. Some of these MAGA Republicans would rather do the wrong thing to kiss ass to their dear leader if it helps them politically, even if it means you're embarrassing and not defending a member of your own family. In this case, his wife.
How about his kids too? How about his children?
Oh, it's
his children are Indian also.
He's
it's
just
horrible.
JD Vance is
embarrassing.
I put JD Vance as the human being right there with Marjorie Taylor
Greene. I don't think he'll ever
Boebert.
get elected. I really don't. I don't think he has anything.
I hope not.
Yeah.
He's already an elected official. He did get elected, but will he be the next president?
Did he though? I mean, yeah, they vote as a ticket, and he was vice president. But
I guess
I don't think it mattered who ran with Trump. They would have elected him.
Joe in the YouTube super chat says, Best political show. You're doing very important work. Did you see Russia attacked Ukraine last night? Yes, I did. It was the worst attack in months. They hit an American-owned factory. Thanks, Brian. Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate your support. Yeah, I saw that. The worst attack all month on Ukraine by Russia, and yet Donald Trump
Putin's laughing at him, Brian.
Yeah. And Donald Trump, they're praising Putin.
He's like,
I mean, it's just
yeah. Let's get together. I'll shake your hand. We'll have some peace talks, and you can fly some planes over. And he probably laughed all the way back to Russia and said, "Yeah, go ahead and bomb them. I don't know what they're talking about with peace." And then his prime minister said, "They don't understand peace. They don't understand what we're talking about in Ukraine. They have no idea." And so I think he got played again, like they said on. It was on Fox News, right?
Yeah.
Said he got rolled.
Yeah. And by the way, going back to the couch fornicator, has spent $12 million of U.S. taxpayer money just on family vacations since he became vice president. But yeah, Donald Trump is the guy that still talks about.
Explain to me how they're conservative.
Donald Trump still. Yeah, exactly. Donald Trump is the guy who complained for 8 years about how much golf Barack Obama was playing when Donald Trump played more golf in a month than Barack Obama played in a year. It's so ridiculous. The YouTube super chat, Shelly says, JD's girlfriend's name is Ashley. Did you know that?
Like,
Ashley.
what's her last name? Furniture?
Yeah, maybe. It's a good one.
Ashley
That's a good
Furniture?
One. That's a good one. I didn't think about that one. Ashley, she might as well be Ashley Furniture. That is for sure. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. That would mean that JD Vance is sexually active with his wife, though, and I seriously doubt that. It's possible, but I doubt. Better chance of him being sexually active with his wife than Donald Trump. Can we agree on that?
Oh, I was going to make an Epstein comment and Ghislaine Maxwell, but I'm not going to say it. It was,
Maxwell, who's at
it would have been very low.
Maxwell, who's, by the way, at Club Med right now, but MAGA don't seem to be talking about that. All right, let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb.
Brian, how you doing? Listen, so you have a problem with J.D. Vance because he didn't defend his family.
Sure.
But yet, no, you don't have a problem with Gavin Newsom, and he had an affair with his campaign manager's wife. That's amazing to me.
Did I ever speak about that? And then he hangs up the phone. What an idiot.
Yeah, but how is that? That's a false equivalent.
Yeah, well, first of all,
that's like saying you don't like apples, but what about oranges?
So Herb is a coward. If he's not a coward, he will call back because we did not hang up on him. So here's what I was going to say to Herb. Herb, have I ever defended Gavin Newsom in his personal life with those sexcapades? Have I ever defended that? Have I ever praised it? No. See, I'm going to educate.
And he's not your family.
I'm going to educate Herb, and it's very difficult to educate someone who is severely uneducated. And I'm going to make a similar reference to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton did some cheating. He did some bad things. If Bill Clinton's in the Epstein files,
apparently
so be it. So be it. I don't defend Gavin Newsom, his personal life, but I will tell you this much. Okay. I would vote for Gavin Newsom over JD Vance for a lot of different reasons. I don't defend that sort of personal behavior, but I can tell you right now, I don't believe that if somebody mocked or made fun of Gavin Newsom's wife for her race, that Gavin Newsom would defend the person who made those statements. JD Vance did. That's what we were speaking of. I don't defend anybody that has had infidelities with a husband or wife, and I never will. But that's the difference between me and you,
It's a
Herb.
false equivalent.
And by the way, Herb is a coward because you hung up the phone, Herb. By the way, Herb, has Gavin Newsom ever raped a woman before? Has Gavin Newsom ever been found liable for sexual abuse? Has anyone accused Gavin Newsom of rape? Is Gavin Newsom a 34-count felon? Has Gavin Newsom ever bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms while they were changing? Has Gavin Newsom ever bragged about sexual assault? The answer is no. So don't you give me your false equivalences and your hypocrisy when you voted for the orange turd, because you are a turd and you're also a coward for hanging up the phone.
He waited on hold all that time just to make a comment and hang up?
Yep. That's Herb for you.
Is he a MAGA?
The MAGA base, everybody. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Bert? Bert is next up on PTL. Hey, Bert, what's going
on? Everything in this world that we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that Donald wants, Donald gets. It doesn't matter. Now they want to get rid of mail-in voting when he, a few years ago or last year, was saying vote. vote, mail in, whatever you do, vote. And now they're saying no.
He mailed his vote in. Donald Trump mailed his vote in.
I know.
He did. He told people to not mail in vote for the 2020 elections. Then in 2024, he told all of his supporters to mail in vote. It's just a joke. He has zero credibility. A complete joke.
And they're not going to use vote. He doesn't want to use voting machines either because they're historically accurate. He wants everybody to handwrite and hand count so he can, in the states that support him, they could count it their way, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. There you go.
And then he, there was something else. There's a million things about this guy. He is a complete, what I was saying just a couple minutes ago. If the MAGA people heard Donald Trump say, drink the Kool-Aid, 30 million of them would go and drink the Kool-Aid.
Listen, Donald Trump just wants to make America great again. We know that, right?
He called himself a war hero the other day.
Yeah, he's a war hero. He deserves the Purple Heart. He just wants to make America great again. The last person he cares about is himself. I mean, gosh, the guy didn't even take a salary. So obviously he cares about you. He doesn't care about himself. But, I'm being facetious and I'm sarcastic, but that's the way these idiots think. These dumb MAGA idiots with two teeth. This is the way they think in America. You can't reason with idiots. And yes, many of the people who still support Donald Trump are idiots. They're idiots.
He said he'd stop the war in 24 hours, Brian. How many months ago was that?
Yeah, he'll stop the
he
war.
Said possibly less than 24 hours.
He'll stop the war in 24 hours like he lasted 24 hours with Stormy Daniels. Let's go to Darlene, the MAGA Destroyer. Darlene, the MAGA Destroyer is next. What's up, Darlene?
Hi, Brian, and hi, my favorite guest, Leonard.
Oh, hi, my favorite caller, Darlene.
Herb, don't worry, babe. They got MAGA blow-up dolls out there, so just don't worry about it. But anyway, that's not why I called.
Maybe that's why you had to hang up.
Anyway,
he was busy.
You know how Trump says that he loves the uneducated?
Yes.
Which is all MAGA. And let me put y'all that it is MAGA. I sat here this morning and watched the video, it wasn't AI, of a man interviewing a lady all decked out in her MAGA crap. He said, what did you think about the big, beautiful bill? This lady that's all decked out in Trumpy, she said, I love it. I voted for it. Then she said, I know it's going to take away my Medicaid and I know it's going to hurt my kids, but that's okay because as long as the president is getting rich, I'm all for it.
That's a cult.
I could not believe it. I even ran it back 3 times to make sure I was looking at what I saw. So there you go.
That's a cult mentality.
Cult mentality is right. But, Darlene, they would call you a libtard because, that's their comeback. That's what they would call you.
They say woke.
No,
woke
another
agenda.
girl.
Woke libtard. Yeah, that's what they would say. It's very intelligent.
No, they interviewed another girl and they said, why did you vote for MAGA? And she said, oh, I don't know nothing about it. She said, I just did it to own the libs. That was the only reason.
Well, I hope it's worth it because it sounds like somebody that's probably going to lose their Medicaid coverage. They're going to lose their food benefits. They're going to lose their
livelihood. They don't care.
Yeah, as long as they own the libs.
As long as other people like minorities don't get it, they're happy.
Yeah. I got about 30 seconds for Terry. Hi, Terry. What's going on?
Another Terry, huh?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard. Nice to see you.
Hi, Terry.
I wanted to send something out to Aaron. Welcome to the same side, Brian. Great job on the conversion therapy with Aaron. This is for Stephen Miller. I'm a 69-year-old proud left-leaning white hippie, and I don't need a nap. And I will exercise my rights to free speech like everybody else should be able to. Stephen Miller, he's the devil incarnate. He's a terrible, horrible human being.
Yeah, there's something wrong with him. Go hippies. I like hippies, by the way.
You're right about that, Terry. I couldn't agree with you more. Sorry to cut you short, but we're running out of time here. Please call back tomorrow. I'll give you some more time. I got a couple fun guests tomorrow. So one thing I always appreciate, there's sometimes I don't appreciate what I do and I shouldn't never take it for granted. And I try not to, but some of the friendships I've made over the years with people that I look up to. So I'm a big 90s alternative rock fan. It's the music that I grew up with and it's the music I still listen to. And I've become friends with some musicians. And obviously I grew up with the band 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor. So the guy I have on the show tomorrow is the original guitar player for 9 Inch Nails.
Wow.
And he's also the longtime lead singer for the band Filter. And his brother is Robert Patrick, by the way, the bad guy from the Terminator movies. Got to get Robert on the show. But Richard Patrick is a diehard liberal. He listens to the show every day. And we became really good friends. We had like a 2-hour conversation the other day, and I told him this conversation lasted longer than some of my dates. But he's become a really good friend of mine, and I love Richard to death. And he's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Very famous. Look him up if you don't know who he is. Very popular musician, very famous musician, great artist. I love his music. I haven't had this woman, this beautiful woman, an intelligent woman on the show in a few weeks because she's been all over the world traveling. But the very beautiful life coach, former pastor, now turned OnlyFans model and life coach, the very talented Nicole Mitchell will be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. She hasn't been on for the last few weeks.
Oh, she missed a couple of Fridays.
Yeah, so she's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. Nothing personal, Leonard, but I'd rather look at her. Not to say you're not a good-looking guy.
I can understand that.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to put you down or anything. I'm just saying, Nicole, she's a beautiful lady. That's all.
And I'm not easy on the eyes. But Gavin Newsom, now there's a good-looking guy.
He's a good-looking guy. I'd rather look at you than Caroline Levitt. I would. I'm being honest with you there, by the way.
There's something wrong with her, man. There's something twisted going on.
Well, she's a pig. She's a pig. You can put her right next to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think of them both as the same.
You see Robbie Roadsteamer calling her horse legs,
Marjorie. Hey, the best thing you guys can do if you support this show is to go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. It's an independently owned radio show, so help us out. Pushingthelimits.live, where you can make contributions and you can buy merchandise. Pushingthelimits.live. Check us out. Help support what we do. We just passed 136,000 subscribers, and we're going. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue